Welcome to the Travel Tidbits Podcast, hosted by me, Jamie Weidel, travel advisor and owner of Pineapple Escapes Travel. Join me as I share the latest travel news, top destinations, and expert tips for the savvy traveler. Because after all, travel makes life sweeter. Welcome back to the Travel Tidbits Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Weidel, and today we're diving into a topic that every traveler can relate to, packing. Whether you're a last-minute packer or someone who starts laying out outfits weeks in advance, we want to make packing easier and more efficient. To help us with that, I've invited Pineapple Escapes travel agent Lisa Maffucci to share her best travel packing strategies, must-have tips, and how she manages to always travel with just a carry-on. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you for inviting me. I've been with Pineapple Escapes for 2 years, and I am enjoying it so much. I love booking honeymoons. I love booking all-inclusives. I love booking on cruises, and I've been getting a lot of requests for my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina, which is a very big destination for tourists. And this is a big time of year right now, in fact, where everyone's coming in to get a little hint of warm weather. And so it's been a great ride so far, and I'm looking forward to planning more trips for more people who love to use travel advisor.
Yeah, I love that. And we're so glad to have you on our team and helping with some of our fun trips. I know that you've been working a lot with river cruises and that sort of thing. So we love that. So
Yes.
What I'm most interested in today, though, is you have mastered the art of packing light. And I will be very honest with you. I struggle big time. So how did you first start traveling with only a carry-on? And when did you realize that you didn't need a checked bag anymore? Tell us a little bit about that process and what it looked like for you.
Okay. I started to test out the little ways of like rolling your clothes in a suitcase. And then I didn't really like that too much. And then I sort of gave up and I went back to a checked bag. And then it was a very important trip that I went on with my whole family during Christmas. And it was my son who was going to propose to his wife as of now. And our bags never arrived. So that was very important because we had clothes in there for the proposal. We had clothes in there for the holiday of Christmas. And you can't get your bag from the United States to Curacao with Christmas holiday. Everything shuts down in Curacao. So that's when I had enough. I said, that's it. I'm going to master the art of having a carry-on. I'm using packing cubes. I'm going to just keep trial and erroring it. And that's what I kept doing. And then soon enough, I was like, I love this. I think I'm going to continue to do this. This is like the way it is. I'm back.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about your packing process. So like, where do you start and like, how do you plan your outfits and decide what to bring and make sure everything fits? I know for me, one of the things I found is I need lighter weight clothes. Like that's one thing I think about when I'm buying the clothes is, okay, if I'm going to pack this, it needs to be lightweight enough that it squishes significantly in my suitcase.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your process there and how that works for you.
Okay. Well, usually like a week before the trip, I usually either lay all my outfits out on my guest room bed or my bedroom floor, and I start putting the outfits together. And I started to realize that when I was picking my clothes and shirts and blouses, they could all be interchangeable. And so I went with like 3 bottoms and 3 tops, which then equaled up to 9 different outfits. So I was like, this will work for me. And my rule of thumb is always pack just for a week. Even if my trip is longer, I'm just going to pack for 1 week. That's it. And make everything work. And then as far as shoes go, my maximum shoes are 3 pairs. There's always a walking pair. There's always a dress up pair. And then my cute little sandals, that'll go with anything. So I think that's the key right there. Like you need to just make sure your outfits are interchangeable and make sure that it can go with everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a good way to think about it. And shoes are definitely a problem. Like the more shoes you have, the less space you have, 100%. I always try to wear my bulkiest shoes on the plane, which are usually my tennis shoes, my walking shoes. But I think it gets tricky. So I have found that I do a lot better packing for warm weather destinations, but then like my clothes get sweaty. So like that's one thing to think about with warm weather is I feel like I need more because my clothes kind of get yuckier. But then like for winter destinations, like, or doing a river cruise or something like that, I feel like I need like sweaters and heavier things, or for Alaska is one thing that I'm thinking about too. And that becomes a challenge too, because the things are just more bulky, but at least they don't get sweaty and gross. So what are your thoughts there? Like, how do you handle like your sweaty clothes? Is there something specific you wear or bring, and how you work with winter?
Okay. Well, for instance, for my summer stuff, I love packing light, and I love those polyester cotton type of blends. I love skirts and tops, cotton tops. I like these new self-wicking tops and anti-odor tops when you're sweating. I swear to God, it works. I mean, I think I picked up a few tops at REI, and they are so lightweight, but they're so versatile. I mean, you can dress them up with like a nice piece of jewelry, or you can dress them down and put a scarf with it. And I actually took 2 of them with me on a river cruise this past fall, where it was in the 50s, not as cold as Alaska. But if you layered that top with like a sweater over it and a coat, I think you'd be warm. Definitely.
Yeah, I like that idea. And that's one thing that I've thought about a lot too, is what I'm packing needs to be able to be very versatile. And like you said, lightweight, wicking, very important things to think about. So are there any things that you pack that you really feel like make travel easier? Things that you would never leave home without?
I do. It's funny that you should ask that. I love my wrap. My wrap is so versatile. And if it comes in 3 colors, it's like neutral, white, and this light blue. And I noticed when you go in your closet, I don't know how like OCD everybody is, but I color coordinate things in my closet so I can see what colors I have the most of. And it turns out I have white and blue. So when I take my wrap and it's tan, white, and blue, I can use it as a scarf. I can use it as a blanket on the plane, and I can use it as a shawl in the evening because it matches all my outfits. So I love that. So I never leave home without it. And this shawl or scarf, however you want to call it, my wrap, it is this like cotton material, but it doesn't look cotton. So it's not like it's I know how sometimes scarves are muted and they look like, oh, that's just for like a dress down day. This scarf, when you're like work with it, it looks so dressy. So you're going to see me with it on the next trip. You'll see it a lot.
I love that. And I think having something like that you can wear different ways can make a big difference. And I like having a scarf or a shawl type of thing in my carry-on when I'm on the plane because I get cold. So having something like that I can kind of cover up with on the plane is always a big benefit for me as well. So one thing that you mentioned already is packing cubes. And I also use packing cubes. I find them to be a lifesaver, especially if you're changing hotels and that sort of thing, to kind of pack what you want for each part of the trip. I think that's really helpful. So you've already mentioned that you do use them, but how do you use them in your carry-on, and how do you organize them for your trip to make packing easy for you?
Well, it's funny that my girlfriend works for a company that is clothes and suitcases. And last week, she literally sent me packing cubes. This is my second set of packing cubes that I have, but these have more of packing cubes, come in all colors. So men can have them because they make them in, muted colors like gray and black. Women, they're making them with palm trees on them and flamingos, and they're very fun to use and want to put your stuff in. And these packing cubes, there's 6 of them in like a big packing cube zip. So when you unzip it, you have small, medium, large, extra large, a shoe thing, and then a little makeup bag. So it really organizes it right there for you. So in my small one, I usually put my undergarments and my whatever I'm going to wear to sleep, my night clothes, and that fits. And sometimes I can even fit like 2 bathing suits in there. And that's in a small one. So then that's put us to the side. And then in my medium one, I do my shirts and my shorts and my skirts. And then in my large one, that's where I put my dresses and my skirts. And there's always room for like the little souvenirs that you pick up along the way. I can always squish them into the corners or into the middle. And I even can put my makeup mirror in the middle of my dresses and my skirts in the large packing cube. And my carry-on that I love fits the one side on my carry-on will fit the small one and then the medium-sized one. And then the large one goes on the other side. And I can still fit 2 pairs of shoes, which are the sandals, and my dress-up ones, which are also like a little heel of a sandal. And then you can basically have more room in the corners to put like your sunglasses if you want to pack them or any other bottles. But I try not to go with bottles anymore because I find that TSA is getting so strict when you're putting it through the x-ray machine, and they always call you out and go, well, what's this? And I'm like, it's 3 ounces, but they want to see it. So I just decided, you know what? They're not going to stop me anymore. I'm going to start using now dry cleansing cloths. I go to Sephora sometimes to pick up some makeup, and they always give me samples of night serum and moisturizers. And so I just load up on that and I bring that along with me. And then after I use them, then I have more room in my suitcase because on the way home, I've used it all and it's already in the garbage.
I like that idea. I haven't thought about using samples like that. That's a good idea. I actually they're called Cadence capsules. They're like just tiny little capsules, and I refill them with everything I use at home. So I have one, and they're small. They easily pass TSA security, but each one then is like labeled. So like my face serums, my moisturizer, my face cream, all of that, and like shampoo, all of that. And I just use what I use at home, which I really like. And then I just have to refill it when I get home. But I use one of those. It's an eBags pack flat toiletry kit. So it is really narrow, easy for a carry-on or even a backpack. I can shove it in the back, like in the laptop sleeve. So it fits really well. What do you use for like your toiletry kit and that sort of thing?
Well, my toiletry kit, again, it goes sparse because usually I'm not concerned how beautiful I look. It's more about comfort and just putting on minimal makeup and 1 tube of mascara, those sample moisturizers, the cleansing cloths. And I love this makeup eraser.
Those like cloths yes.
Yes, I love them. These makeup erasers they take my eye makeup off, my mascara off, the foundation off, lipstick, you name it, they take it all. And then what you do is you just put a little soap on it and you wash it off and it magically disappears. And you dry it, air dry it, and it's good to go for the next trip. And I think these makeup erasers are like good for 20, 25 uses.
Okay. Yeah, that's neat. I just use the little like Neutrogena reusable, like the ones you can throw away. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the ones that are just pack and go. So I take those in my toiletry kit with me for makeup removal. But I love the idea of a makeup eraser, something that can be reused. That's a great idea. I think that there are so many I think that's where it gets hard. Like, especially if you're into makeup and those sorts of things, it's kind of like shoes. Like with makeup, you can have so much of it and that can be really challenging to pack. One thing I have found, they're called subtle stacks, and it's just like a jar or a stack of different things in it. And it has like cheek, lip, eyeshadow, like a base, like concealer, a powder, everything in just one stack. So it's easy to pack. I usually just throw that in my carry-on, and that's typically my go-to. And then I also have mascara too. But So usually that and mascara is enough for me, but it really depends on what type of beauty person you are. If like I'm pretty low key most of the time, but if you're really into that, I think that can take up a lot of room, but maybe that would be better off in your personal item. So let's talk a little bit about your personal item that you carry on and what kind of companion to your carry-on bag you use and how do you utilize the space in your personal item?
Okay. My personal item bag has to have a zipper. It has to have a sleeve if I can put my laptop in there or not. I love having zipper dividers because that's important because, again, when it goes through the x-ray machine and they push it down, I don't want things slipping out and getting lost. And I love having just the fact that straps, I love luggage straps. So if I have to use that after I shove everything in there and I might be overdoing it, then the straps sort of help keep everything in place and tight. And some of these bags now are starting to have USB charging ports with them, which I think is cool. I don't have one yet, but I'm sort of like looking into it. My other bag of choice is my carry-on must have good wheels and a handle because I went through a trip to Cancun recently and we used my husband's little carry-on and those wheels were ridiculous. I mean, we were putting so much effort into moving this little piece of carry-on and I was like, okay, this is going in the garbage. These wheels do not go 360. They don't turn well. They don't So I realized then wheels are very important and a good handle.
I agree. Absolutely. I think those are critical. So one thing I did about 5 years ago is I bought new luggage for my whole family and we bought away bags. And so we have the away carry-ons and we have the away mediums for check bags. But the away carry-ons have great wheels. They're easy. They have a lifetime warranty. So if something breaks or it gets a hole in it, you can email them and they will help you get a replacement bag. They have been perfect for my family. So I've loved those. And then for my personal item, my original bag was a Tumi Voyager. And so it had the laptop sleeve. It had the handle for luggage, which I think for me, I hate carrying it on my back because I usually overload it with as much as I possibly can. So it's really heavy. So being able to slide that onto my carry-on makes a big difference. But I've also recently found NZ Wallace bags. And so they're very lightweight and kind of have a little bit more flexibility. So you can stick a lot more in there. And I always have to have room for my fanny pack purse that I use wherever I go. It has to be able to stick in there and zip closed. Yes. I agree. It needs a zipper and all of the different compartments. I obviously always travel with my laptop as well. But I think that that's really important to be able to have those different spaces in there and to be able to slide over your carry-on so you have one piece that you're wheeling around. And I agree, good wheels are important too. Anything particular that you keep in your personal item bag that you think is important to note that our listeners might find interesting?
Oh, okay. I think it's important recently. I'm not going to name any names in my family, but making sure that you put your jewelry in this carry-on bag and not, if you do decide a chopped bag, do not do that. I always keep even if it's costume jewelry, it doesn't matter. Costume jewelry today looks like real jewelry. Some of it, a good piece of jewelry can be looking very expensive, but I always put it and bring it with me inside my personal bag, as well as my passport. I always also have my passport on my phone. I think that's important. A lot of people sometimes don't know where to put their passport sometimes, but I think it always has to stay on you when you're traveling. Don't ever put it in your luggage. And if you're going to put it in that little carry-on, make sure that you are with it at all times. Don't ever walk away from it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one nice thing with like the personal bag carry-on combo is Like I have a special slot in my personal bag where my passport always stays. And like even my jewelry, I do the same thing. It's always in my personal bag so that it's always with me.
Yeah.
And I have there's like a key clip inside my bag. So I have a little jewelry box that has a key ring on it and I clip it on that. So it's in the bottom of my bag and I can get to it, but it has all my jewelry and stuff in it. So it's always with me. But I do think that's really important to note. So great tips.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about your toiletry kits. Do you use like solid toiletries? Like do you use like the bar shampoo or do you use just like your sample size? And then you had mentioned picking up like samples from different places. I think that's a great idea. But any other tips to save space and meet those TSA regulations?
Again, we all like to go to the drugstore or Target, and we like to get those travel sample size of mouthwash, sanitizer spray, or the wipes. I actually like the wipes of the sanitizing because there's always a time where your hands feel sticky or something spilled on your suitcase. You can wipe it with that cloth, whereas the sanitizing spray is just a spray. And now you want to wipe it with something. You don't have anything to wipe it with. So I really get the sanitizing little cloths, and I love the sample size mouthwash. I don't use bar soap for my hair. I do like usually the places I'm going to, I'm sort of excited to see what brand they use. They're all starting to use aromatherapy type of soap and conditioner and shampoo. And I usually don't bring that, but I do always bring like a little sample of like hairspray, mouthwash, toothpaste. Those are important, of course, because toothpaste everyone is picky about, I think, their toothpaste or what kind they use, because there's so many different varieties of toothpaste out there.
I agree. I am very picky about my toothpaste. There's only one kind that I like to use, so I definitely have to bring that with. And I think that's an interesting point about using the shampoo and conditioner body wash that is provided at most resorts and hotels. I've had issues with this. It's a Disney issue for me, that H2O brand, the sea salt they used for years. It would make my hair like so sticky that's when I started traveling with my own shampoo. But sometimes I do get adventurous and try things, especially at like an all-inclusive where they have the fun aromatherapy, and my hair is just really picky at times, I feel like. So it makes it a little bit more tricky. But
I think dealing with everyone's hair, everyone's got a different texture hair, and you're right. Everyone's got a particular way they want their hair to look after they shampoo. So I think you really sometimes maybe I will bring like a little sample shampoo that I've been, and I really like their shampoo. Like I love Sandals brand. I love their brand of shampoo and body lotion. I don't know where I want to bottle it. I know I think you can pick it up on Amazon, but I know I have to go to a Sandals to get more of it.
Well, and I think that they do like have a market for that. Like a lot of people love that Disney H2O brand. It's no longer a thing. They're still like using it up like on the cruise ships and stuff, but that brand doesn't exist anymore. But like people loved it. And I was like, I hate it. Like it just doesn't work for my hair. So it's just one of those weird things. So let's also talk about multiple people traveling. So when you have a family traveling, what are your best tips for making sure everything fits and keeping it easy to find? So I know your kids are all grown and married and adults, so it's a little bit different when you have young kids, but what are some of your thoughts here?
Well, I have been there. I've had young kids and I have traveled with them, and I observe a lot when I'm at the airport, and I watch families walk in with strollers and backpacks and you name it. And I sort of took note of this one family that came to the airport, and this woman was so organized. She had each child carry something different, which I thought was very cool. The one child had a backpack, and she carried all the entertainment, as you want to call it, like the little movies or the little screens that they can play with. And then the other middle-aged child, he was the one who brought the snacks. He was in charge of the snacks. You could tell why, right? Always hungry. And then like the older teenager version, he had a backpack and he was responsible for like the chargers, the medicines, all that stuff. And then the woman, the mother, she had like the extra clothes for like the little ones in case, the clothes got wet or they got stained. And I know that these packing cubes come in handy again because they make them in all, like I said before, different colors. So each child could have their own color packing cube. And then for the little ones, the mothers I saw were like, when she took out this little outfit, it was in a Ziploc bag and it was an entire outfit. And all she did was just pull it out. It was easy. The outfit was there. The child just said, okay, yeah, mom, I'm going to wear that. Sure. It was already a full outfit in there. So I think it helps little ones to be able to dress themselves and know that that's their outfit for the day. And then those children each carrying a different like theme going to the airport. I think that was the coolest thing. So I think that would work for other families as well.
Yeah, I agree. So my kids are all teenagers, but it wasn't that long ago that we were traveling with little ones. And like you said, my kids all had their own color of packing cubes. So we know whose clothes were what. And they each had their own little backpacks that we filled with the same things. So like they each had their own stuff, but it was like all matching. So there weren't any fights. There weren't any discrepancies there. But I think it can be really challenging. But I love the idea of the Ziploc bags too. I know I have seen several moms who pack their kids each day and label it. So like, this is Monday's outfit. This is Tuesday's outfit. So they're just ready. And then they don't have to think about it while they're on vacation, which it would take quite a bit of time, I think, on the front end to get all of that set up. But then if they just have baggies and they can throw them out, I mean, that's a great way to get your day started, especially if you're doing a theme park or something like that. It would be quick and easy to kind of get your day going. So I love that.
Yes, I agree.
So we talked a little bit about like if your clothes are sweaty, and you talked about how we need like the wicking clothes, but what about wrinkles? How do you avoid wrinkles when you're traveling? And how do you make sure that everything still looks good when you're wearing it?
Okay. So when we all go to the mall and we go to a store, let's just say White House Black Market, what do you always see them do when you buy an item? We're wrapping it in tissue paper. That is key. That tissue paper is what I pack my clothes that I know wrinkle. And I used to do the dry cleaning plastic bags, but I found that when I was using the plastic dry cleaning bags, the clothes would slip because the plastic, it just was not, and my clothes were wrinkled. But when I started using tissue paper in between folding my clothes into the packing cube, I found that it stayed put and it didn't wrinkle. And I was like, aha, I found the way to do it. And then another cool tip that I love to share is I put a dryer sheet in my suitcase so that my clothes smell fresh. And like you said, if you have some sweaty clothes that you're going to put in there, that dryer sheet is fresh and it's not going to make the rest of my clothes smell like that sweaty article of clothing that I put in there, or like, even on the way home. And when I get home, I'd love to say that I take a cleaning cloth for the outside of the suitcase. Then I empty my suitcase. I spray Lysol in it. I air dry it. And then I put in another dryer sheet before I close my suitcase up, because that suitcase might be closed for 2 weeks, 3 months, no longer, since I have to be traveling. But the dryer sheet and the tissue paper are my two key tips that I'd like to share with everybody.
I love that. So tell me a little bit more about the tissue paper thing. So are you wrapping like those specific items in the tissue paper? Or are you layering it between things in the packing cube? How are you doing this?
I am taking a specific shirt like they do when you buy one. And I lay the shirt down on the bed. Then I put the tissue paper in front of it. Then I fold the arms. Then I fold it again. and then I put it in my packing cube, and then I take out another maybe tissue paper, and I'll just sort of fold the skirt in it and then put that on top. So it's almost like you're laying. Now, sometimes I don't do tissue paper on every single piece of clothing because some of my clothes are wrinkle free, but the ones that I know will wrinkle, that's where the tissue paper comes in. And we all have tissue paper. I mean, I have extra tissue paper from wrapping gifts for Christmas and the holidays, like Mother's Day. So sometimes I just want to use that tissue paper up. And then, of course, the tissue paper that comes from the retail stores that sometimes they give you so much of it. I'm like, I don't really want to throw it out. I want to repurpose it. So then that's where I repurpose it.
I love that. So that's a great idea. You mentioned like wrinkle-free clothes. So this has been a big thing for me as I started traveling more over the last 10 years. And then especially recently where I'm on the go all the time. Royal Robins is one brand that I have found their spotless clothing line is perfect. It's lightweight. It doesn't wrinkle. You can pull it out, wear it. It looks cute. It's wicking. It's not like you can sweat in it and you don't feel gross. But another thing that I do is you mentioned like putting the dryer sheet in your suitcase. I put an extra like bag in my suitcase, especially if I'm transferring hotels. So putting a dryer sheet in that bag and then putting my dirty clothes in it. I don't like to mix my clothes in my suitcase, like especially while I'm traveling. So I usually put my dirty stuff in a separate bag and then repack it in the suitcase when it's time to actually go home. But if I'm transferring between resorts or between hotels, I have a separate bag because there's just something about my dirty clothes touching my clean clothes. I can't handle it. So one of those weird quirks. Right.
No, well, we all have them. No, I think that's a great idea. No, I love that idea. I'm going to take that one from you.
So yeah, it's just a really flat, like duffel that I carry with me. And it also has like the luggage strap so you can throw it over your carry-on and carry it. So I really enjoyed having that and being able to transfer things that way. So obviously we have to get to these destinations. So the plane ride, I think, is always an interesting one, especially for clothing. Talk a little bit about what you wear on the plane and why you pick those kinds of clothing.
Okay. Well, like you said, I wear my bulkiest pair of shoes, which is basically my sneakers. I mean, but it's not the sneakers that I wear every day at home. These sneakers are special sneakers. These sneakers have tread on the bottom because, when you're traveling, you're always going to a place where it could be cobblestones or uneven pavement or dirt, rocks. So it has to be some kind of sneaker that's lightweight, has tread on the bottom, and comfortable. And as we get older, your feet need that extra support. So I can't wear those cute little flat sneakers anymore. In my line of footwear, my footwear has to have support as well as the treads, lightweight. And then I work my way up. I always love a comfortable pull-on pant that's lightweight and versatile with color. And I always like white. A white shirt always to me looks crisp, clean, fresh. So I pack white shirts, more than one in my suitcase. I always love to wear a white shirt when I'm going on the plane. And then a little jacket that matches the pants, or a pullover that matches the pants. I think then I'm layering is that I have my little scarf that, can add as a shawl or a blanket on the plane. So then I feel quite layered and quite good. So then when I get to that top destination, the first thing I'm doing, of course, is pulling off that zip up or the pullover. And now I have my cute little white t-shirt on with the pants and it looks great. And then if it's a cold place, I just wrap that shawl around me on top of the zippered jacket that matches the pants. And if I have to take out my coat out of my carry-on, then I will. But again, everything's got to be lightweight and the pull-on pant has to be a must.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I wear a very specific pant. I wear the Athleta Venice joggers every time I fly. Yeah. So I have two pairs, one for the front end, one for the back end. And they have zipper pockets, which I just love. So like my AirPods or my phone, anything like that, I can zip into the pocket. and I don't have to worry about it falling out in the plane or getting lost. I just zip it in there, which I really like. They're really comfortable. If I'm going somewhere cold, I might wear leggings under them because they are lightweight. Sometimes, depending on the weather, I might wear something under it just to layer. And then I also like tops with zippers too. So like a zippered pouch or a zippered pocket, I think it's really nice. And like you said, I think layers are always key, no matter where you're going. Even if you're going to a cold destination, having those layers. So if you're hot on the plane, if you're cold on the plane, so you can put things on and take things off as you need to. And definitely my sneakers on the plane. And like you said, I also have special travel sneakers that I wear depending on the destination. I have different ones. If I'm going to Disney, they're a little different than if I'm going on an adventure trip or going to an all-inclusive. It just depends on where I'm going. But I definitely think that that is key, and having your bulkiest shoes and like your thickest things on you so that those aren't in your carry-on. That's really key. And for me, zippers. I have to have zippers. Like that's
Yes. Yeah. I do like zippers too. Yeah. I do look for clothes with zippers. I do like that.
I do too. There's just something about being able to zip the pocket shut, especially when you're on a plane and sitting and in transit, that I think is really important. So on your way home, there are always extras that you have picked up along the way, the little souvenirs. You've talked about putting them in around your clothing in your carry-on, but do you bring an extra bag? Do you have a strategy if you go overweight, if you buy something big? What are your thoughts here about souvenirs?
I do. I pack a lightweight foldable duffel bag, and I use that as my souvenirs. And that's usually the bag that my husband will carry if I'm traveling with him. I do like small things so as I get older too, I realize I don't need all this stuff, but I do like to have a little bit of this, or remind myself a little dish that I can use for jewelry, or put olive oil in it. So those types of items I'll wrap up and I'll put it in my suitcase, and I'll try to nudge them in between my clothes in the packing cube, which I definitely have room for that. Some items like little bottles, that could be like a little bottle of liquid that I can carry, I'll wrap up and I'll put that inside my shoe. Because I feel like the shoe has straps and that'll hold it in place. So I do like that. And I try not to buy a lot. And if I do want to buy a lot or a bigger item, I definitely will ship that home, then try to carry it and have it be broken by the time I get home. And little things in lightweight is my tips to say to bring home with you, and the bigger things, definitely ship them home.
Yeah, I'm not a stuff person either, so I would much rather look at the experience as my souvenir, but every now and again, there's just something that calls to you. Our bathroom is decorated in small pictures from a lot of the destinations that we've been to, so sometimes we pick up something like that, but usually I can fit it between my clothes pretty well. But yeah, I agree. If I buy a lot or something big, or like when I was in Ireland, I bought a couple of sweaters because I thought that was really a neat thing, but I had them shipped home. I didn't put them in my bag to bring them home. So I think that that's important to always ask about shipping options or find a shipping option to make sure that you don't go overweight on the plane and have to deal with those sorts of things. So now it's time for our travel favorite of the week. We've talked about lots of favorites this episode, I feel like, but Lisa, what is the one travel item or tool that you would recommend to our listeners to make packing a breeze? Of all the things we talked about today, what's the one that you think is the most important?
Packing cubes. I have to have them. They are a must.
I agree.
In my way of packing and traveling. I mean, I think I'm getting my family on board with it now, because they see when we arrive at our destination, I just pull out like, oh yeah, I know where my bathing suit is. Boom, here it is. Well, like, how did you get that so fast? I can't find mine. It's somewhere in here. And I'm like, well, next time use a packing cube.
Right. Then you know where everything is. I agree. I think that is a critical one. And we'll put a link to some of our favorite packing cubes and some of the other items we've talked about today in the show notes for this episode, so you can link back to them.
Okay.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. This has been such a helpful conversation, and I hope that we have given our listeners a few little tidbits that we can help them travel more efficiently, more effectively. Where could our listeners connect with you if they have any travel questions?
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. My Facebook is Lisa Maffucci Travels with an S at the end. And my email is lisamaffucci@pineappleescapes.com. And my Instagram account is Lisa Fun and Sun. And one of those three methods, I'm sure you'll be able to contact me and reach out to me, and I'll be glad to help you with your next travel adventure.
I love that. I love that. And for all of our listeners, if you're ready to plan for your next trip, whether you're a carry-on pro or still perfecting your packing game like me, we'd love to help. You can email all of our agents at info@pineappleescapes.com, and we would love to help you plan your next adventure. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a travel tip, and we'll see you next time. And remember, travel makes life sweeter. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast, where we believe travel makes life sweeter. The team at Pineapple Escapes Travel would love to help you plan a trip filled with lasting memories. Visit us online at www.pineappleescapes.com to start planning your next adventure.